Hey everyone, my name is Joshua Scigala. I'm here from Voltoro, um, where we were the first Bitcoin gold exchange. So instead of trading back into filthy fiat, you could trade into allocated bullion, secured in top tier vaulting facility in Switzerland, fully audited and fully insured, and then trade back to Bitcoin when you need it. So we never had to go back to fiat. We could stick in an asset-based monetary system. Just like any other exchange, it's a full order book like Kraken, Bitstamp, anything else. So we don't set the price, the market sets the price. So wanted to build a price discovery system outside of fiat for Bitcoin. And we did that we started building in 2014, launched in 2015, and going ever since. We also developed the Glass Books protocol to make the most transparent exchange in the world by enabling anybody to audit us all the time. So we're always looking for newest technologies. That's because I lost a heap of cash in the Mt. Gox collapse. So we wanted to build something better. Anyway, that's where we come from. But today I'm here talking about the Lightning Network because the Lightning Network is very, very close and it's growing exponentially right in front of us. It's probably one of the most exciting technologies in the space, and it truly is an evolution and a revolution. Well, a peaceful revolution, so I would say an evolution in banking as a whole and in financial technology. So I actually wanted to talk about some of the misunderstandings or FUD around Lightning and what really is going on when we're looking at this stuff. So a lot of the biggest misunderstandings are that Lightning Network is ridiculously hard to use. And if anybody opened up a browser back in 1995, they would have thought, the internet's never going to take off, super hard to use. Does anybody here understand how actually TCP/IP works, or how many hops you need to go through to use Facebook, how many jumps on the network, how to even route a packet, or how to even send an email through command line? Probably nobody. But yet grandpa is sitting in his nursing home swiping away on his iPad, having a great old time, right? So it's all about technology. The Lightning Network is super, super beta. So it's still very difficult to use, but it's growing super fast. The other thing that people keep talking about is that the Lightning Network requires 2 transactions to route when no route's available. You have to start something new, or you have to close the transaction. The thing is that this is a very temporary problem. When the network grows out, you have this concept which was popularized by Kevin Bacon, the site 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where you could search in a search engine any actor or anyone pretty much in the entertainment industry, and it would tell you how many jumps to Kevin Bacon it took. And it's always like 3 or 4, and it comes from the old classic 6 degrees of separation, where every human is only separated by 6 hops to another human. And they've done experiments where they grabbed some random person in Saharan Africa and told him to get a letter without knowing to this person they didn't know in New York. So they knew it was in New York, and that's about it. And so they're like, I know someone that's in New York, that knows someone in New York. They sent the letter there. They didn't, and eventually it did end up at the professor in New York in less than 6 jumps. It's quite amazing. So the Lightning Network is really like that. It'll grow out extremely, extremely fast. And if right now in these early stages you don't get a direct connection, you're better off not closing the current connection, but opening another connection to another channel to route payments. So how many of you here, before, because I sort of jumped straight into it, how many of you know what the Lightning Network is at all? Yeah? Okay, so I'll just give a quick roundup what it actually is. Bitcoin is very, very slow. You've got 7 transactions per second around about where people can send through. The blocks are very small, so you can't put much in. And as soon as you get more, the fees go up to try to get into the next block, because there's not much space in each block for every 10 minutes. So the Lightning Network is like a bar tab. If you go to a bar, instead of settling every time, making a transaction every single time you buy a beer, you open a tab for the evening, buy beers all night long, and have one transaction at the end of the night. And this is kind of what Lightning Network is, except it's a smart contract. It's smart contracts built on Bitcoin scripting language. So, so what this does, it's not only a bar tab, is if there's someone else in the bar that wants to pay you, they can actually pay you through the barman or the barwoman, barkeeper, and it'll get to me. So it's a network of nodes, and then you settle every so often to the main chain. So it makes things very, very fast. So it takes Bitcoin from going from 7 transactions a second or thereabouts to thousands and thousands above Visa. So it's really interesting. Batching is another technology that will allow, just heading back to this now, batching is another thing. So when you close a transaction, they're saying, oh, you have to open another one. It's another Bitcoin transaction, and that'll cost, $20 or up. Because Bitcoin transactions, as we move forward and get more popular, it'll get more and more expensive to use. But batching will allow you to open and close a channel at once. So if Bob doesn't use a Lightning, then Alice can't send you a payment. Well, it's kind of like saying, well, if someone doesn't use Twitter and I use Facebook, I can't send them a message. Well, that's a problem with any network. If you don't have an account somewhere, I can't use that to contact you or to message you. The thing is that we're actually getting around this problem because what people have developed are protocols where you can actually send a Bitcoin transaction to a smart contract, and the smart contract will then pay a Lightning network, or the other way around. You can send a Lightning payment to a smart contract, which will then pay an on-chain transaction outside of the second layer. So you can even pay someone that's outside of the Lightning network, which is also really, really exciting. And it also continues this the incentives for miners to collect fees as Lightning Network grows out and out. So the other FUD that's going around is that your money is locked up when you stick it in a Lightning channel. Well, is your cash locked up? Would you consider your cash locked up if it's in a bank? I would, because it's a bank, it's custodial, yeah. But it's kind of like saying, oh, your computer's locked up because you're locking your computer to a single IP address. It's not locked up. You can always spend it. So depending on who else is on the Lightning Network, you start to spend that. And as that grows out, as that expands the Lightning Network, you can then pay more and more people. So I would say it's not really locked up. It's literally sitting somewhere that can either be closed, the channel can be closed, or using the example I said before, by sending it to a smart contract, you can actually get someone to send it out straight away, or you can close the channel, which takes a little bit of time, but it's all available and it's coming really quickly. Others must offer liquidity for the Lightning Network to work. Now, the thing is, what I mentioned before with the bartender paying the bartender and someone else in the bar being able to pay me, it means that the bartender needs to have liquidity there, sitting there ready, because they pay the bartender pays me. And this is how the Lightning Network works. And we can do that for multiple jumps. If you can, that's why it's called Lightning, right? Lightning, so pay. And you can settle many scores. But the thing is that people do need to offer liquidity. But this happens more and more as this network builds out. Again, we're in very, 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 very beta in this technology, and we're seeing a very small network, although the network is growing exponentially. So as you open a channel, you automatically put some sort of liquidity sitting there in a smart contract ready to be routed and used. The next bit of FUD that you always hear is that you need a channel with Starbucks to buy a Starbucks coffee. The reason we bring up Starbucks is because you can send a Satoshi over the Lightning Network, one single Satoshi. You can actually send sub-Satoshis, which is really interesting as well. It's kind of strange. You can send less than the minimal amount of Bitcoin that there is, because it's smart. So it's divisible, I think, down to 4 decimal spots. One Satoshi is divisible now by 4 decimal points. So it's kind of wacky. But this goes back to what I was mentioning before. you don't need, the whole point of the Lightning Network is that you don't need a single channel to the person that you want to pay. In fact, the current Lightning wallet that's out there, Eclair, that's sort of ready for the normal person to download from the App Store, has a button that says Auto Connect to the network. So you're actually just connecting to a random node, and then when you scan a QR code somewhere to pay somewhere, it routes through the connected node that you've got to you, or to as many hops as you need to get to the payment that you want to send. At the moment, if you use it, it does sometimes stop. It doesn't come through because it's very, very young. There's not enough channels to get through to the final stage. But again, happening really, really quickly. It's exponential, and people don't actually, humans in general, don't understand the power of exponentiality. It happens extremely fast. Lightning is centralizing. This is a really big one that keeps coming up. They're saying that major hubs will pop up, and everyone will want to join that hub, because then you're guaranteed to reach your final destination, because they're very well connected. And this is very, very true for the moment, because at the moment you've got this hub and spoke model of kind of like the internet. The internet has a hub and spoke model, but it's very, very hard to change. Like the cost of changing the hub and spoke model on the internet is the cost of hardware. You have to physically lay lines to route around ISPs. And so you get these ISPs, which are hubs, and spokes, which are the end people, and the hubs then connect to other hubs. And so the internet's sort of decentralized, but you've still got a hub and spoke model. And this is what they're scared of with the Lightning Network. The thing is that try laying your own cable across the Atlantic. It's impossible, right? So hardware is very, very hard to change. Software, anybody can boot up a node and route around a bad actor. So it costs you literally one transaction in 10 minutes confirmation time, and you have a new node that's routing around a bad actor. So the cost of being able to route around centralized forces is very, very, very cheap and very, very quick. So we're going to see, and we're already seeing it. If you can look up these Lightning Explorers, you can start to see, yeah, there are major hubs, but there's more and more nodes popping up every day that are connecting more and more places. Plus, they're incentivized because you can collect tiny, tiny Satoshi fees for routing payments. So that incentivization, we've seen what incentivization does to the Bitcoin network. Look, I mean, Bitcoin miners now are so powerful because of incentivization that the entire Bitcoin network is taking more electricity than 8 of the largest nuclear power plants in the world can supply.